Hi, today we'll look at installing Windows Server 2016. For the purpose of demo, I'll be installing it on a Hyper-V VM. So before going ahead with the installation, we'll quickly look at the system requirements. Windows Server 2016 requires a processor of 1.4 GHz or above. It should be a 64-bit processor. This should generally not be a problem with today's computers. You require a RAM of 512 MB, but remember that Microsoft recommends that you allocate more than 800 MB of RAM for your virtual machine if you are installing this release on the VM. So once the install is complete, you can boot the system with 512 MB, but for the installation stage alone, you require more than 512. The recommended value is 800 MB. So if you don't follow this recommendation, you might end up with an error while the system boots from the DVD. As far as disk space is concerned, you require a minimum of 32 GB. So although what I've seen is after installation, the OS takes up just around 10 GB of RAM, but that was for a very basic system with 800 MB of RAM allocated and for testing purpose only. So if you are looking at a production system, obviously you require much more than that. Microsoft recommendation of 32 GB is for a very basic system with just web server role installed. So for production systems, I'd recommend that you go with somewhere around 100 gig C drive at a minimum. And for development and testing purpose, you can maybe live with a slightly lesser. Remember that as your memory or the RAM grows, you require more space on the disk for the page file, the memory dumps. Also, you need to consider future requirements for installing applications like antivirus or backup, as well as future updates. So at a very minimum of 50 GB even for dev and test environments. So Windows Server 2016 has two editions, the standard edition and a data center edition. Both can be used as a virtualization guest operating system. With standard, you can configure it as a Hyper-V host and also get two VM licenses for free, whereas data center allows you unlimited VMs per install. Both supports Hyper-V, but data center in addition supports shielded virtual machines. Again, containers are supported on both, but standard supports only two Hyper-V containers, whereas you get unlimited Windows containers. In data center, both are unlimited. For a storage space is direct and software defined networking, you need to go with the data center edition. Also, if you're using it as a Hyper-V host, you can note that for standard, you need to activate the guest OSs using any of the activation technologies yourself, whereas with data center, the guests are automatically activated. So now let's look at creating a virtual machine. As I mentioned earlier, this is being done on a Hyper-V system. So the steps aren't going to be any different. I'm going to create a new virtual machine here and choose the directory where I want to place it. Overall, there isn't much of a difference when it comes to the installation steps. It's pretty much the same as the previous OS like 2012 and all. So we'll just go through it anyway. After creating the virtual machine, power it on, make sure the ISO is selected and allow it to boot from the DVD. it should boot up to the install screen. Click next and choose install now. If you have a product key and you want to specify it here, please do that. Otherwise, select you don't have a product key. And also choose the operating system version. Here I am choosing data center with GUI, that is desktop experience. If you want the core version, please choose the other option. I'm going with the default disk space, using up all the disk space on the system, and the installation should kickstart. As you can see, there is hardly any difference between 2012 and 2016 in terms of the actual install steps. The install time is largely dependent on how fast your disk is. So if you have an SSD, it should take much lesser time. Okay, in my case, the install is almost complete. I had fast forwarded some of the waiting period just to shorten the video. So after the install is complete, the system is gonna reboot on its own, and it's now booting up onto your first login screen, and it will prompt you for the administrator password. So given a strong admin password, and it should take you to the desktop. Again, there is not a lot of difference as I mentioned, but just in case somebody wants to refer, it's quick and simple.